Good afternoon, everyone. It is a Friday afternoon, and we have Texas on the other end. So we have Master Harley and Krystal Elmore with us today. We're going to talk about many things, but we are also going to talk about some tough things because these are people that have solutions to some problems that I didn't know much about, and people probably don't know much about. So we're going to touch on that today and educate people. So welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Elmore.
Hello.
Thank you. We're excited to be here.
So I know them because I entered the world of martial arts training 2.5 years ago, and they came to my studio, David Vincent's Training Martial Arts Academy, and I got to sit underneath their training, which was fabulous, and learned about their program for Operation Rescue Children. And I have kids and grandkids, so my ears went beep, 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 beep. Oh my goodness, what are they doing? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So, but first we have to talk a little martial arts because that's our common ground.
Yes,
and that's
always martial arts.
Yes. So, how did you get into this? And both of you, because you're both together as a team, how did this all start for you?
I got into this because of him.
Yeah, it's his fault. It's his fault.
Yeah,
Okay.
she reminds me regularly.
Yeah, I bet.
I was lucky. When I met someone who had a friend who was a martial arts martial artist, and at the time he was the reigning world full contact, what was called PKA back in this day, Professional Karate Association. But he was a full contact kickboxer. And he was looking for a place to start teaching and trying to expand his capabilities as an instructor and less as a fighter. And so as a young teenager, I got hold of him, and lots of calisthenics, lots of hard fighting, and, all that stuff. So it was really good tempering process for a young adult. And and that was in probably 1984.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, so I never knew until I walked into the David Vincent's martial arts. I just went in for a free class because I needed to do something different. There's a whole world out there.
Yeah.
and I read there's that's a big stretch, anywhere from 3 to 10 million people in the United States that are involved in martial arts.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a big, big world. And so let's talk about the physical parts and also the mental parts, because what I really like is the discipline, the self-discipline, the holding accountable and things like that. So Krystal, if he dragged you into it, what was it that kept you there? Because you're still sitting by him.
Yeah.
Well, we from the beginning we had a business model of if I could, he likes to call the church in the state, is like how he likes to say, but I take care of the running of the business, all of the things that it takes to run a martial arts school, which frees him up to be the best instructor that he can be. Mm-hmm. And we have found that formula really works well. And I love organizing and doing things. So I think being an entrepreneur really fit well with my skill sets and where I wanted to go in life. And he just asked me one day, "You want to open a martial arts school?" And I said, "Sure, let's do it." And we worked hard, and we brought $1,000 from my dad, and we paid our first month's rent and bought a few focus mitts, and that was the beginning. And we've just really been on the same team with the same mission, same goal, which was if we help other people achieve their goals, we will achieve ours. And I think that's what I'm drawn to the most. It's not the punching and the kicking and belts or anything like that, but it's that we really have made a life and a mission out of our life of helping people become the best versions of themselves. And that's very rewarding. And that's what I like about a martial arts school or running a martial arts school or program.
So, and Harley, I watched your video about goal setting. And so we live in a time where people are afraid. People don't know what's going to happen in the world. I mean, there's a heightened sense of awareness. There's also a heightened sense of loneliness. So coming out of that, is it not a good time to say, what am I going to do with that? Okay, in response to where we are now, I have a job to be my best me.
Right.
And what is that going to look like for me? And so, what do you say to that when it comes to responding to it in reality with personal goals and saying, here's what I'm going to do in response to all this crazy stuff in the world?
Yeah. Well, I think that martial arts is a great example. I think it's the best process that we have today of how to overcome these things, right? Other people have good motivational quotes and good ideas, but how do I do it? How do I actually do it, right? Well, martial arts, first and foremost, is action, right? You got to show up, you got to, sweat and do what you're told. And if you do those three things, we'll make you great, right? So first and foremost, it teaches you got to have action towards those goals. You got to show up and do the things. But and then along the way, we address fear, we address frustration, a little bit of pain, a little bit of self-doubt, and all those things that that they are the things that hold us back in the rest of our lives. Someone who's afraid to ask for a job promotion, or afraid to ask someone out on a date, or to take a challenge. Well, in martial arts, we do that all the time. We just do it in small little increments that are easy. They're bite-sized. So you feel it just a little bit, but then you fight through it, and and that muscle, just that muscle of courage, of bravery, of self-confidence, just got a little stronger. And martial arts is a process of doing that over and over again, facing those things, but in small doses, small bite-sized things that anyone can do. And that's the great thing about martial arts. They're scalable, right? So you can have a D1 basketball or D1 football player in there who's just a monster, and you can also have someone who's not, and who's never been had any kind of violence, but they all are working on the same things. And so we got a process of being able to do that, build our character to do that.
And it's a well-tested process. I mean, this has been a process that's been going on for decades.
Decades just in our school and in like Mr. Vincent's school, but centuries, right? Centuries.
Internationally.
Yeah, internationally. That's right. The martial arts formula for taking people and training them to prepare for hard things is like you said, it's incredibly well proven. Now we have a better way to do it. Now we have safer training methodologies. It expanded the scope of who could participate and things like that. And I think that's the real value of it. If people come and train with me, I have students who have been training with me for 30 years. If they aren't in violent situations, if the only time that my training with me is going to have any value in their life is the extreme time when they have a violent encounter, well, that might never come, right? But if the lessons can be transferred to being a better husband, a better wife, a better father, a better mother, a better employee, a better boss, then now all of a sudden the lessons that they're getting in martial arts transfer and make them their life better, their loved ones' lives better, everyone around them, the community, all that, right? Yeah.
And I've often said a confident person is confidence because of their competency. Krystal, how have you seen that in the life of a child that may have come in, and then we're going to move on to Operation Rescue Children, but how have you seen that in the life of a child who may have come in timid, and then you give them some skills and you recognize their determination, and they earn a belt, and then they earn a stripe? What happens in not just a child, a 58-year-old child, when you begin to put some competency behind someone's skill level, they do become confident. Is that true?
Yeah, I think it goes back to when you have proof, then you start to believe. And when you believe in yourself, you become stronger. And so it's little micro sets of that, of proving that you can do it and that you are capable. And that's what builds confidence over time. So I think it is based on the competency, because if they go out there and they can't do it, then it does the opposite of that. So it really goes back to, the power of how you think about yourself. And when you have 100 little proofs in a year, that, hey, I can do something and I'm awesome. There's a lot of power in that.
Yeah. And it's the work. You got to do the work.
Right.
You have to, it's small deposits over lots of days and weeks and months. And then one day you're like, man, I can do this. So,
Yeah.
so let's talk about how this led you into Operation Rescue Children, because what you do as a team, and by team, I mean Warriors Way team too, is you help people that go out on the front line to rescue kids. But how did that interest develop?
Yeah, I don't know that we ever. Well, I know that we never really put two and two together that we could do that. But in 2019, a friend of ours had a missionary visit his house, and he went downstairs and saw his martial arts equipment, and he said, "Hey, I really need your help." And our friend said, "Okay, well, I'm not the guy for you, but I know the guy who is." And they called Harley, and he drove to Arkansas, and the three of them met and discussed what the guy needed. And he was running a team of people in a third world country in Southeast Asia that were going into brothels and rescuing women that had been sold into, a life of sex slavery. And the guys had no training at all, zero, maybe less than zero training, especially when it comes to like the mentality about what it means to fight or even like to survive and things like that. So they talked, and we decided, yes, it's something that we can do. So we flew there in 2020, the beginning of 2020. Harley worked with the team for a couple weeks. I got to visit some of the they rescue women, and then there's a safe house they go into, and then after that they have like jobs that have been created. So I got to tour some of the factories, like where they make jewelry, where they make clothing, things like that, where they give these women purpose after they've been rescued. Wow. And it was a very it was a life-altering experience to see human exploitation and trafficking in a third world country. We don't have anything like it here in America. Like nothing compares to it. And so when we came back, it was a very heavy burden to carry. But we also came back with hope, because we were given the insight that we can make a difference in this, and that we can do something, which we had never really correlated, with that before. And so our co-founders live in Arkansas. It's their name is Keith and Adrienne Wagner. They're some of our very best friends, and they actually came up with the brainchild idea to start a nonprofit and Operation Rescue Children, so that we could all work together and use the skills that all of us have gained over the last 3 decades to make a difference and move the needle in this fight. And that was really how it all got started.
So Harley, what was that like working with that team? I mean, did you just have light bulb moments go off and things you could teach them?
Yeah, I mean, I'd just come off of 20 years of training, America's most elite military special forces teams during the global war on terror. So as that wound down, I thought, okay, well, I'm done with that. I'm done with this kind of work. And then when we were there, I realized, man, these people need this stuff. I mean, I can't just put this on the shelf. These guys need training. Mm-hmm. And we were sitting there in that country, and Krystal and I were having coffee, and the sun's just barely up. We're getting ready for the day, and the city is beginning to wake up. And I'm looking at Krystal, I'm looking at where we're at, and I'm thinking about what we're doing. And I think to myself, everything I've ever done in my life has led me to this moment.
Yeah,
being here and helping this mission. And then after that, I was ready to go. I was committed, But it is interesting to see people who have nothing, no skill, no training, no nothing, doing the job anyway, taking the risks, and out there doing, good work. So we felt compelled at that moment to.
Well, and prepared. I mean, like you said, you didn't know that you'd spent 20 years preparing for this, but.
Yeah, and I would say that once you see something, you cannot unsee it. And once you know something, you cannot unknow it. And to know and not act upon it just really goes against everything that we are as human beings. Mm-hmm. And so we really felt that we were called to fight this fight. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that we face in running an organization like this, is that so many people are not aware of the problem. They like to think that it's something that happens in some far off place, or a third world country, or in the big cities, or they make up some excuse in their mind to avoid it, because it's a very dark and dirty reality. And nobody wants to talk about somebody doing something like that to a kid. Nobody wants to talk about, the things that happen to them when they are taken. It is hard, but we have to talk about it. And everyone needs to be aware and educated that, hey, this really happens, and it happens in your town. I guarantee it. We live in.
That's so sad.
I would consider it's not a large city. Our population is about 120,000 people. So it's a good size, but it happens here. But everyone feels like this is a small town, and like that stuff doesn't happen, but it happens everywhere. They busted a pedophile ring 2 blocks from our house a few years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
So on your website, it says 50 million people worldwide are enslaved.
Yes.
Yeah.
That includes a lot of people. Yeah. That includes a lot of different things. That's people that are being sex trafficked. Of course, it's people that are forced into marriage. It's people that are doing forced labor. There are a lot of people. And in Texas in particular, we really do have a problem with forced labor, because we are a border state, and a lot of immigrants come in, and it's an issue, right?
Yeah, I bet. So what have y'all discovered that is going on in the United States?
There's a lot.
I mean,
wow, that's a big question.
Well, I can just give you one example. Okay,
just give me what do people need to know? Let's reframe the question.
In America, I think that a lot of parents are afraid of stranger danger, and they train their kids, right? They do actual training and talk to them about, we don't take candy from strangers. We don't get in vans. Hey, they might try to trick you with a puppy. And like, you go through these fire drills with your kids over and over again, and you make sure they know, hey, we use stranger danger, right? And they even train them to do that and take them to martial arts classes to fight against stranger danger, right? But here's the reality of it. Some stranger snatching your kid, it's 1% of 1% of child crimes against children.
Yeah, that's not many.
It does happen, but it does not happen enough for it to correlate the amount of training that we put towards it. Now, let me give you an example of what really is dangerous, and that's the internet. And it's strangers on the internet, right? And what parents, I think, sometimes forget to realize is that if you wouldn't let your kid do that in real life with an adult that they don't know, you shouldn't let your kid do it on the internet either. It's just as dangerous, maybe even more. And so I think that we need to flip the script on what parents see as dangerous, and make sure that they are educated and aware about the realities of what their kids are facing, and make sure that they have the tools they need to educate their kids so that they don't become victims. And that's in America. That's what we're really facing. In the beginning, we have a great system in America, right? And we have this thing, it's called NCMEC, and it's the National Center that takes in all the tips that come in about any kind of online child sexual abuse material, right? So we're talking about images, videos, things like that, where a kid is involved in a sexual act. And so they have online tipping, phone tips. They also do missing children. So they get all the reports. They started in 1998, and there were less than 5,000 reports.
So
some kind of video like that.
This is getting better, right?
Yes. In 2023, guess how many reports there were?
Oh, how many?
36 million, actually over 36 million reports of a video or a photo or something that contains sexual content of a child performing or having performed on them a sexual act. That's, 36 million in 1 year. That is dangerous, right? That's
horrible.
That's the real danger.
It's horrible.
And is
so let me ask you this, Harley.
Yeah.
First of all, what do people, I mean, what do parents, I mean, you're raising up warriors in warriors way. So
Yeah.
what do you tell parents when I mean, surely parents are saying, should we give our kids phones? You know, I think people just have their head in the sand. People know there's a big old dark web out there and there's all these bad things.
Yeah.
But I mean, how do you tell parents, okay, you've got to be the one to not give your kid the phone? Because see, that's the peer pressure that comes in.
It is. Well, I think, you know, like if we looked at all the sting operations that you see where they get some guy and they get a camera in his face, like, hey, you're here to meet a 12-year-old that you were talking to online, aren't you? You know, and they catch them and they sting them, you know, and get them arrested, or they interview them and then turn them over to the cops. They met online,
Yeah.
right? And they were groomed online.
Yeah.
And so I think that families don't realize that letting their kids get on a game like Roblox, where they
Right.
can interact with other adults. Roblox is known for a predator hunting ground. And yet people are letting their kid get on their iPad and interact with other people and have communications and go into private rooms online. Well, those predators are grooming your child, and they don't think anything about it. Well, it's no big deal until that guy drives from a city 2 hours away and meets your kid somewhere, right?
Oh,
That happened in our town. A guy
Oh.
drove from Washington and came down here and met a teenager and kidnapped her and took her. So
Yeah.
I don't think that the answer, we live in a world of technology and it's just becoming more and more and more of that. And
Yeah.
it's not a reality that you're going to keep your kid from using technology. The answer is that you teach your children to use technology in a responsible way, and that you as a parent, it is your job, 100% your job, to monitor what they're doing
Right.
when they are online.
Right.
Like, which means you're listening, or you have the apps that monitor who they're talking to and what they're doing and what they're saying, and that you're policing that, right?
Right.
Just think about if you would let your kid do that in real life, and if you wouldn't, you shouldn't do it online.
Yeah.
And
In the old days, your kid would say, hey, I'm going to go to my friend's house. And the parents would be like, which friend?
yeah.
I'm going to Johnny's house. Johnny who? Right?
Yeah.
Who else is going to be there? Right?
Mhm.
And the parents would kind of go, oh, I know Johnny's parents. I don't think I want you to go over their house, right?
Mhm.
Maybe Johnny can come over here. But there was some screening process. People wanted to know who their kids were hanging out with, who they were talking to, and where they were going to be. But for some reason, that doesn't transfer over to them being on the internet, which is exactly the same thing. People should know who they're talking to, what they're doing, what their interaction is. They should limit that because they have the ability to do that. They shouldn't just be free to do whatever they want on the internet. They should limit the access to certain things and certain rooms and games and access. And they should be consciously aware of regularly checking in to see who's talking to their children, what's going on, and that sort, just like they do in real life.
it's education.
Well, and it's also the parents have to do the work, because the kids know so much more than the parents about the
Yes.
phones and the apps
Yep.
and their hidden ways. So
Yes.
you really do have to, if you're going to give your kid a phone and they're going to have social media, and I get it. I just sent my daughter a text message this week and I said, my 4-year-old and 8-year-old grandkids, they can never have phones. I get that that's not realistic, but I'd read
Right.
an article.
Yeah.
But you, as the parent, you have to do the work
You do.
and know what could happen. And because your kid doesn't have the judgment to say, ooh, that's a bad app, I should get out of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Well,
right.
no, I believe you educate your kid.
Yeah.
And you teach your kid, and that you teach your kid what is good and what is bad, and to recognize what is good and what is bad. And that comes from the very beginning of the introduction of technology. I also think that you really, 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 above everything else, you need to teach your kid what grooming is and how to spot it and what it feels like,
Right.
and to understand the realities of what will happen if that does happen, if they are groomed by a predator.
And tell them the truth about what's really happening in the world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you find a version of the truth. It depends on their age, you know.
Right.
But,
Age appropriate.
right.
Mhm.
But yeah, they do need to understand the dangers of it, but they need to be able to recognize it, right? Because grooming works because it makes you feel good. And
It
we-
does. That's
yeah.
the sad part.
It makes
Yeah.
the kids feel like they want that.
Yeah.
It's attention that they want. And I like to think of it as, if your family's, out camping, but let's say it's a long term and you're all around the fire, right? Well, there are monsters out there in the dark. But they won't come into the light because that's too easy for us to defend against them. So instead, what they try and do is they try and draw your kids into the dark, right? They try and get them to walk away with attention, praise, all those things, gifts, encouragement, all that stuff, to draw them away from the fire, draw them away from the family into the dark where they're vulnerable. And so our job is to help educate them. Hey, there are monsters in the dark. And that's why you got to stay here in the lights. Why you got to stay to us. You got to tell us what you're hearing, what you're seeing. Let's talk about those things. Let's talk about what happens when you go into the dark. And I think that's a good analogy. People can get their head around that, because the internet is that. It's the dark, and people are trying to lure them out through the internet and lure them into the dark.
So a lot of good things are happening. Operation Rescue Children, and you're equipping people to go in, and what we talked about before we went on live is coping skills, because coping skills is being able to deal with the realities of life and being able to deal with the realities of family. And you don't sign up for a class that says, okay, sign up for coping skills, but that is part of what we're doing, is we're not keeping the kid from going into a dangerous situation, because the world can be a dangerous situation. What you're saying, especially Krystal, you're saying tell them how to walk into that dangerous situation and equip them, because if you don't, they're going to be blindsided, or could be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You don't want to have weak kids that you've sheltered and protected forever. You want to have strong kids that are going to be able to handle whatever is thrown at them when you're not around. Yeah. And that's really a good goal. And so at Operation Rescue Children, we have three main focuses. One is we train heroes that are out there fighting for us, that are rescuing children and women, that are fighting crimes against children, that are busting pedophile rings. Like, we give them the physical skills to survive violent encounters, and we give them the mental skills, or help them to learn mental skills and resiliency for coping with what they see on their job, when the worst thing that you can imagine a human doing to a baby or a kid, and they have to see that. And so how do they do that and go home and be a father or a husband and not let it poison it? We help them to develop those formulas to be able to do that successfully. We're also this year in development of a education and awareness program for parents, and it's going to be something that can be distributed to like anyone who has a parent group or a church group or a PTA soccer team, anything like that. There's going to be programs where you can help educate the other parents in your life, so that you guys can become aware of the real dangers and the realities, and have real formulas and solutions for how to teach your kids to be safe. And then we also have a prayer project where we send out prayer cards quarterly, and trying to get as many people praying on the same prayer as possible. And they're all focused towards our heroes that are out there fighting for us. So
that's really good, because I think that if you gave parents an opportunity to sign up for something that says how to protect your kids from sexual predators,
right,
I think people would sign up, and I think they would want to hear from what you know and what you've learned, and I think they would. But you don't see those opportunities. But I'll move forward with this. I said there's really good things happening, like Operation Rescue Children, because the dark web, and because of all the teams and the I don't know what you call them, the people that are posing as a predator.
Right.
There's a lot of great things happening because people are aware of what's going on. So it's, the good thing is everyone is tracking what is going on. So what is the hope of the future in this? Because I feel like people are on it, like y'all and other people, and but how can parents get involved? I know we've talked about coping strategies, about being aware of what's going on and learning the internet, but people can get involved in organizations. People can, what are tactical things parents can do to say, you know what, I'm not sitting back, I'm going to do something? What is the something?
Well, anytime I have someone contact me that wants to help or volunteer, I give them two things. One, you need to become educated, right? Like it's your responsibility to become educated. We're going to try to help make that a little bit easier for people, but there's a lot of resources out there, and you need to be aware of the reality of the dangers and what you need to come up with a strategy for how you're going to combat them. And then another thing you can do is you can support people that are fighting against this, right? Like what if you didn't have to train your kid to be safe online because we could take care of all the predators? I think that you find a good organization and that's doing the work that you feel like is making a difference in this fight, and you find a way to support them, because really this is a humanity problem, right? And it's gonna, we all are fighting this fight, and we are all in danger of something happening to us or someone that we know and love. We all have kids or grandkids or nieces and nephews or anything like that, and they are the most vulnerable and the most innocent. And so it's our responsibility that we are educated, we are aware, and that we are fighting. Basically.
And so Harley, I know that y'all help veterans, and I know that you do a lot of training and things like that. But what's it up here that's got to be the clicker where people are like, okay, I'm digging in deep. What is it that people have to really see, feel, hear, really accept to get it in their head to stick this out, become the hero? And I don't mean fighting it themselves.
Right.
But I mean, something has to go off here, and then it goes here, and then I don't know what I'm saying, but you teach mentality, and you teach coping, and you teach strength. How do you get someone to realize I need to learn that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that if we look at the journey people make, right, in the beginning of their life, it's all about me. You know, I need to get my job, I get a nice house, I get a nice car. And then they find other people that they care about. You know, they get a wife, they get kids. They start, okay, now I'm going to take care of them. Mm-hmm. I think as you get older, your family start going, oh, our family likes their family, and we all believe the same thing. And so you become tight there, maybe even form a neighborhood or a tribe, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I think that people need to realize that there are people out there that need our help, that aren't as stable as we are. That, you know, one of the common questions or things that people who are being victimized is, does anybody even know? Right. Does anybody even
care?
Yeah. Does anybody know I'm alive? Does anybody care that this is going on? We need to accept that responsibility. When I was a teenager, I realized people who have the ability to defend themselves have the responsibility to help others, defend others. And that's us. Yeah. That's us. Even if you may not be able to punch and kick and elbow and knee and all that stuff, but you can support the people who are actually out doing the job, and you should take that on as your personal responsibility. I'm not going to let this keep going. I'm going to be a part of that. I'm going to become educated on it. I'm going to support that. I'm going to make it part of my cause. And part of what we do as a family, right? What's it mean to be an Elmore? What's it mean to be part of our family? Well, part of our family, we have a few things, but one of those is we do hard things. We're a family who does hard things. Yeah. And this is part of that. You know, it's a responsibility that we've decided to take on. You know, everybody needs a dragon to fight, right? A dragon to slay. And this is a worthy dragon.
And we're in an age that, you know, everybody sees a lot of problems, and people want to talk about it. They want to, you know, gripe or moan or whatever. I get it. We got really big problems that are worth complaining about. But I believe if a problem tugs at your heart, which this should tug at all of ours, then you become the solution.
Right.
Each of us are used.
Yes.
So why I sit under your class, y'all's class, or at David Vincent's class under my trainers, I am becoming a solution, one little class at a time.
That's right.
Because I'm willing to go the 4 years to become a black belt. Now that may not be for everyone.
Right.
But there's something for everyone, right?
There is. There absolutely is.
I think that people a lot of times think that they can't make a difference.
Right.
That, like, I'm just one person. I don't have the skills. I don't have the ability. Like, what good is it going to do? I can't fight this fight. But what they have to realize is that you can support the guys that have the skills to go out
Right.
and fight this fight. You can,
Right.
and even if it's $5 a month, I mean,
Right.
it makes a difference, right? Like everyone's seen the cartoon Ants, and when the ants finally realize, hey, there's a lot more of us than there are of the grasshoppers, and they come together, right? And so if we had a million people giving $5, like that moves the needle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's power in goodness and in good people, and no matter what you feel like you can give, it makes a difference, and you can support people that are out there fighting the fight and actually doing the work.
We get a lot of people who are martial artists who follow me online and things and know about me. And they're like, hey, I've been in Krav Maga for 15 years. How can I join your team? And the reality is that I don't need that, right? Operation Rescue Children doesn't need instructor staff, and that's probably not going to be very useful for us. We need a different type of skill set that most martial artists don't have. But what they can do is get educated. What they can do is send their, monthly donations, find something you believe in, a group that you believe is getting the work done, and then join that and be a part of that and become educated, talk about it, share it. And all of us chipping in and helping out a little bit, whether it's on social media or however you do it. I mean, that goes a long way.
Yeah. Or join the Prayer Project. It's free. You can also, an organization or any of the organizations that you feel are out there doing well and doing great, follow them on social media, share their posts, like their posts, so that more people will see them. That raises awareness, and it raises education levels for people. So there's a lot of things you can do if you don't have money. Our prayer project is completely free. You can go online and you can register for it, and we'll send you the prayer cards each quarter for free. You can organize a fundraiser. There's a lot of different things that you can do to become part of the solution. And we are. There's a famous saying that all evil needs to win is for good people to not do anything at all.
Right.
And so, like, we're the good guys. We just have to do something.
Right. And we've got your website, standwithorc.org.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right there. So anybody who wants to give to what you're doing, because you're very active in what you're doing.
Yes.
And people could give there. They could start right now. They can search their hometown, their home state, whatever it is.
That's right.
They could become educated and say, you know what, I'm going to be a solution to this problem, because this is, and every problem presents an opportunity. And this is an opportunity for people to stand up and say, you know what, I will become a solution. And we could talk about this all day, but we're going to call it here.
Okay.
But I thank y'all so much for all that you're doing, for being willing to come talk to me about this, because it's such a big, dark topic, but you're a light in the dark, and you're inspiring other people to be lights in the dark. So I hope people will pull up operationrescuechildren.org and harleyelmo.com. Look at all you're doing. Get, even though they're in Texas and you may be from somewhere, but get involved, because it's a place that we know is doing great work. So I want to come back and talk about this again at a later date. But thank y'all so much for all you do. Thank you for coming on here with me, and thank you for rescuing children, or training people who are rescuing children, and putting your heart into it. So
it's our honor. Thank you very much.
Everybody have a great Friday. Get involved. Your solution to the problem.
Yes.